There's a tension most men recognize, but rarely name. You can feel it in a gym or in a locker room, in a room full of men who should feel familiar. It's nothing obvious, just a quiet edge, a sense that something is being held back, measured, guarded. And underneath, a question most men don't say out loud. Can I actually trust this man? This isn't random. The mistrust between men is patterned, conditioned, and often, sadly, earned. It begins young, in the schoolyard competition, in the mocking of emotion, in the betrayal of confidence, in those pecking orders formed by fear, not respect. We learned early that other boys can be, and often are, brutal, that our pain might become ammunition, and that our success might make us a target. So we adapt. We guard, we perform, we compete, and we carry that same guarded stance into adulthood without even realizing it. Some men were betrayed by a father. Some were humiliated by a peer. Some were outcast by a group they tried to belong to. Others were simply never seen, never heard, never invited. And when that happens enough times, a man starts to believe others are a threat. I'm safer alone. Trust makes me vulnerable, and vulnerable makes me prey. So he stands guarded, even around good men, even when he wants connection, not because he doesn't care, but because he's learned not to risk it. This distrust shows up in all kinds of ways. The man who constantly jokes but never opens up, not even to one very close, trusted friend. The one-upmanship in conversation, the advice giving, that's really control. The guy who disappears the moment another man shines. The silent hierarchy battles in every group dynamic. It's all armor. And while it may keep men protected, it also keeps them alone. Because a man can't receive real brotherhood when he's bracing for betrayal. Most men won't talk about it. But there's a quiet grief that runs deep beneath this mistrust. A longing for one man who'd stand with us in truth, without judgment. For a group of men where strength and pain could coexist. For a brotherhood where competition died and real support began. We ache for that, but we don't say it, because the risk of disappointment feels heavier than the weight of solitude. So we keep the mask on. We keep our distance. We stay polite, but disconnected. And over time, we forget how badly we once wanted real connection with other men. When men don't trust each other, we stop showing up honestly. We shrink our truths into silence. We burn out trying to carry everything alone. We model isolation to the next generation. We never let ourselves be fully seen by someone who understands. And worst of all, we rob ourselves of the kind of connection that only men can give each other. Not as rivals, not as competitors, not as teachers, but as equals on the path. strong, flawed, awake, and unafraid to be seen. Now, there's a difference between earning a man's trust and performing for his approval. The first is built through integrity, time, and truth. The second, built on fear. You don't have to entertain, dominate, or conform to be trusted by the right men. You just have to be real. And if that costs you the company of men who can't meet you there, well, you're not here to bend. You're here to stand. And the men who've done their work, they'll recognize you by your presence. Too many men's spaces are still locked in invisible competition. Who talks the most? Who leads the loudest? Who gives the most advice? Who gets the spotlight? And that's not brotherhood. That's hierarchy in disguise. And if we're not careful, those spaces become another version of what we already escaped. A place where trust is fragile, where performance is rewarded, where truth is filtered. But real masculine space feels different. It doesn't puff up. It doesn't fix. It doesn't compare. It holds. It listens. It remembers. And it lets a man be seen without being diminished. You don't have to throw yourself into a group or announce your wounds. You start with one man, one conversation without performance, one act of presence without fixing, one moment where you let your guard drop an inch and see what happens. And slowly, very slowly, the wall begins to soften. You start to feel, well, maybe I'm not alone after all. Maybe there's more to brotherhood than just talk. Maybe I don't have to keep bracing. That's where trust begins. Not in grand gestures, but in small moments of quiet, masculine respect. You're not weak for wanting real brotherhood. You've done or are doing the lone wolf thing. You've earned or are earning your sovereignty. You rebuilt or are rebuilding your frame. Now the question is, can you share space with other men without armor? Can you support without controlling? Can you witness and be witnessed without shrinking? That's where real brotherhood lives, not in matching beliefs, not in shared hobbies, but in the quiet, knowing that another man is there, not above you, not below you, beside you, present, solid, unthreatened, and true. Most men didn't choose to become guarded like this. They learned to, over time, through experience, through disappointment, they stopped talking about. And they got good at it. But something in them didn't disappear. It just stayed behind the wall. And if something in this conversation felt familiar, there's a good chance you've already seen it in yourself. You don't need to force trust. Just stop assuming every man is a threat. And stay with that. Because when you do, you start to recognize how few men are actually willing to stand this way as you are.